Welcome to Death on Clare Island, Chapter 26A. I packed light, deciding to take the bus instead of my car to Runa Key. That would give me a chance to be a true tourist. After I deposited my car into the parking lot behind the Golden Thread, I threw my overnight bag over my shoulder and headed toward the door. "Anyone home?" I asked, leaning in. Aunt Georgina danced out from behind her cash register. This morning she wore an olive green, mid-calf length silk shirt with a boxy purple Chanel sweater. "Where are you off to this morning? I didn't expect to hear from you until later." "I'm off to Clare Island for the weekend." "Really? More research on Matthew?" Her head tilted to the side as she asked this question. I watched her eyes move from me to the bag. "No, I can't do anything more to help Bridget. There are some minor updates that she might want to hear, but nothing meaningful." "You know I don't want to, but I must put this behind me, Aunt Georgina." Then I explained about my meeting with the police and my visit to Matthew's house in Westport. I've already called Bridget and explained the situation to her. "You really have had a few bad days, haven't you, love? But I'm relieved about your decision, Star. God knows what's really going on, but you can't solve it. I guess this will always be a mystery, something for people to gossip about." "Probably," I replied. "Anyway, I'll be staying with Peter. Here's his number in case you have to reach me." I handed her a piece of paper. She glanced at it before turning her eyes back to me. "Don't tell me any more about Peter or anyone else for that matter. I've wished you and Lorcan would get to know each other better. You haven't really given him a chance, Star. Why you and he can't—" "Sorry, I've got to run, Aunt Georgina. I see my bus pulling up across the street at Flannelly's Pub." I gave her a quick smile and dashed away. The bus lumbered its way along the narrow and twisting roads that sprawled at the feet of the Connemara Mountains, or the 12 Pins, as they are called locally. After spending several hours sitting on my duff, I looked forward to the walk to the lighthouse. There was still time before the ferry arrived, so I decided to explore the quay. The last time I was here, I'd been focused on the Sumner's boat slip. A young boy about 10 or 11 years old, blond and wearing a broad smile, manned the ticket office. I paid my fare and walked along the concrete wharf, stopping to watch a young cormorant spread its wings as it roosted on a small point of rocks rising out of Clew Bay. Although I wasn't following up on Matthew anymore, I couldn't help but look over to the Sumner slip again. It was empty. Maybe Bridget or her parents had taken the boat out for the evening, something to shift their minds away from the grief for a while. As my eyes followed an imaginary line from their slip to the ocean, I glanced the back of a head that looked familiar. Was it Lorcan McHale talking to another man in the marina? With the sun shining between us, it was difficult to be sure. I squinted and used my hand as a shield, but then the two of them walked away. The thought of seeing Lorcan brought back our recent conversation. Determined to forget about both, however, I plunked myself down on a large rock, periodically glancing out to the water where the Ocean Star wended its way to the pier. As it got nearer, more people joined me in watching its arrival. Most of them carried knapsacks, some picnic baskets. I wondered what it was like to live so close to the ocean and to these islands, the freedom of getting away to one of the cleanest beaches in Europe whenever the urge struck. As my gaze fell on the group of people surrounding me, a ripple of shock electrified my spine. Raymond Nolan had stationed himself a little to my left, and he was glaring at me. The same bags I had seen him posit in his car several days before lay on the ground at his feet. Recovering from my initial surprise, I began moving in his direction. Where had he been since I last saw him? He looked tired, hadn't shaved in days, and was wearing the same clothes I'd seen him in at his house. I was about to start firing questions when a black Labrador bounded between us. A bearded man scrambled over, trailing a leash in his hand and calling, "Wolf, get back here!" Then the man smiled at me. Don't worry, he's friendly. I held myself still, watching as he reached down to grasp the dog's collar. I began to circumvent the master and canine combo, but the bearded man mistakenly misread my movement as an indication that I wanted to pet his companion. So he led the dog over to me and said, Go ahead, he likes to be petted. Not wanting to appear rude, I reached down and rubbed Wolf under the chin. At the same time, I saw Nolan pick up his bags and walk over to the Ocean Star dock. Why was he going to Clare Island? Did he need to do something or see someone? If he was a murderer, then he might want to drop off some incriminating evidence, or perhaps he had an accomplice waiting for him. When I reached the boarding area a few minutes later, about 20 people stood in line in front of me. I watched Nolan, who was way ahead by now, descend the narrow set of stone steps and onto the boat. I waited for what seemed like an eternity before my turn to board. There wasn't much room left, and I had no choice but to sit in one of the few remaining seats. That meant I was nowhere near Nolan. I satisfied myself with the knowledge that having been the first on, he'd be the last off, so I'd wait for him to disembark on the other side. In the meantime, I busied myself gazing across the vast expanse of water that stretched to the Atlantic Ocean. The air felt cool, the breeze washed through my hair, the waves rocked the boat rhythmically. I imagined that I was listening to the soft strings of an Irish violin, its music drifting across the waters and wafting through my head. Songs from my ancestors, perhaps? Songs from my secret past waiting for me to uncover them? Soon the twilight would descend, bringing with it the mischievous pull of haunting music and the need to finally solve the riddle of who my mother had been. We all have a secret past. Like a secret garden, it waits for us. In the moments of contemplation, we go there in search of answers. Perhaps this trip would bring them to me. I closed my eyes and savored these thoughts for the remainder of the journey. When I opened my eyes again, the sky over the island had turned dark and ominous. It reminded me of Matthew's strange painting. I took the tracing that I'd made out of my pocket where I'd stuffed it after I scanned a copy to Philly. While I alternately stared at the dark sky before me and the picture in front of me, I caught a glimpse of Captain O'Malley in his cockpit, successively scanning the horizon in front of him and the colorful outline of the topography of the island. In that moment, it struck me that, like Lego pieces snapping together, Clare Island's outline and its coves fit the shape created by the roiling dark clouds and sky in Matthew's painting. In contrast, the painting's lighter section revealed a path across the middle of the island. So maybe he had left a message, but what did it mean? Had Matthew hidden something on the island? Did his killer live on the island? My mind swirled with possibilities and reawakened my determination to figure out what he tried to say.